Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Truth Table. I'm Paul Everton. We're in our second season, episode 36. And tonight's topic is a young man, 31-year-old Joe Edward Mills. And it's a heartbreaking story. It's a tough one for me because it's local as well, including defendants of Niagara Regional Police, Niagara Health, Toronto's Chief Coroner's Office, who in their report say that Joel had an unremarkable uterus and ovaries. So we don't know what is going on here, but it's a tragedy. The tragedy of sacred bodily autonomy that we've experienced with the injections over the last 5 years. That continues today in Canada. But if you're very sensitive, you may not want to watch the show. But I do appreciate my guest Shelley-Jo Kyle joining me, the mother of Joel, who has an incredible experience from the assault to funeral home and cremation, removal of evidence. It's a story I really didn't want to touch on, but at this point in time, we're in a snow moon and the truth is revealing, one rock at a time. It gets lifted and we have to face, the truth, as painful as it may be sometimes. But I look forward to my conversation tonight and sharing this story and archiving this story as, something that we're dealing with in Canada. And we all have to be aware of and hopefully find remedy solutions right after this. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I will be sharing the links for the Give Send Go, I believe, that we have. I think it's Give Send Go. But I will share the link. For some reason, it didn't work for me, but it seems to be working for everyone else. So I'm going to get Shelley to leave the link in the comments afterwards. And if you'd like to help, please feel free to help and get this case heard before a judge. And hopefully we don't have a corrupt judge as well. I'm seeing all kinds of crazy stuff going on now. It's like the year of the snake and the Epstein files are blowing my mind already. But, this is the time. This is like the last, till April 1st, basically. From now to then, we're going to be seeing a lot of things that are going to blow our minds. But it is the truth, and you deserve the truth. And that's why we have the Truth Table. Thank you for joining me, Shelley. Welcome to the Truth Table. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm looking forward to the show. You.
Well, your story needs to be heard. It has a lot of meaningful information that people need to be aware of. Joel was assaulted on he's 31 years old, and he went into the hospital quite alive. Mm-hmm. And maybe you could take us from there from what you know, because I know they've kept information from you as a mother, which is really astonishing to me.
Yes, it is. It's very, very disturbing.
So, did you hear when he was in the hospital, or did you hear only after everything happened?
I
Like,
just
when?
learned I just learned that he was in a hospital in 2025 in October. So that was almost 2 years later. And I learned that because I applied for his medical death certificate, and I have that medical death certificate, and that's where I learned that Joel was alive when he arrived at the hospital on September the 7th, 2023. There's also a OHIP record, because I applied for Joel's OHIP records, and
Yeah.
I learned that he was at an appointment with Dr. Mohammed Warzi on September the 7th as well. So this is something that is just new, that has come to me since in October in 2025. So you can see that I had to do a lot of investigating to get to that.
Yeah, it's astonishing that they completely uh, eliminated parental rights. It seems collectively too, unanimously in the federal government. They, despite the party, they all unanimously vote uh, to allow children to, surgically turn themselves into eunuchs, to,
Mm,
never bear children, never have families based on an emotional, fleeing emotion that, can change day by day, you know.
mhm.
And what, in your situation, they just took over.
They took over my son, because I learned when he was apparently missing was his father called me because Joel was staying with his dad in Niagara Falls because he didn't live there. He would kind of stay with me and stay with his dad. And so
Mm.
he was staying with him at that time. And he phoned me on September the 7th and told me that he didn't know where Joel was, that he didn't come home. So that's not normal because Joel wouldn't do that. So I called the police as soon as after I called my sister actually to tell her that I was really worried, and then I called the police at 5 o'clock after my school bus run, and so they were supposed to find him and look for him, but really he was actually in a hospital, but I didn't even know. So do you want me to continue, or do you
Yeah,
have any?
yeah. I was just pulling myself off the screen so people can see you better that are on little phones.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make light of the situation, but the morning of September 7th, Joel was assaulted.
Yes, according to his sister, Joel's father told her when she was asking him if he could be more, give her clarity as to what he knew had happened to Joel, because she felt that he wasn't being forthright. So
Hmm.
he actually told her that he beat Joel up that September the early, like he said, September the 6th, but he didn't put a date in there, but that would be the date that he had beaten Joel in the head. Um, so that's how we know that he was assaulted. And there's other reasons behind that as well.
No, he arrived at the hospital 5:18 p.m. And did he die from the assault? Uh,
Well, that's what we haven't been clear of, like they haven't told us that. So it's not clear to us if he arrived alive, right? So it says
mhm.
in his medical certificate that Joel was alive and he had a medical appointment with Dr. Mohammed Warzi. So he was alive. So he must have been hurt quite badly. It says he was injured. He was injured. And they say injured in Niagara River. It does say that on the medical death certificate. So he arrived alive. And from my understanding, um, is he was beaten in the head, but I don't have transportation records as to how he got to the hospital because those are missing.
And if they suspected that he was killed by these injuries, they would have arrested his father.
Yeah, you would have, that's what you would think.
But
But
if they don't suspect him, then they probably know why he died.
I can see your point there. That's a good point. Yeah.
And the CT scan from the Toronto Chief Coroner's Office on September 12th revealed Joel's organs missing.
Yes, they're missing completely. Yeah.
And with not just a few organs, but
No,
all of
he's
them,
all of them. Yeah.
including the brain.
Yes. Yeah. And I also have autopsy photos. I have 18 of them. And it doesn't show that they put, like, there's no organs showing in those pictures. He's totally, completely empty. And they didn't put them back. They're not there. They're not anywhere to be seen. There is some weights that are written in handwriting, um, but they weren't there to be weighed, and the weights are not actually um, like, they're not the type of weight for that. Like, I checked to see if the weights were normal for an
Hmm.
adult man his age, and they're under the normal. They're not the normal weight. So it's like they were fabricated.
Unbelievable. Now they had to do a dental to prove identity, right?
They didn't have to do that, in all honesty. They publicly announced that Joel was found dead on September the 11th. And I didn't learn that Joel was in the morgue until September the 20th, when his dad actually called me. They never did call me. And so they
So
already knew they had Joel, and they didn't even start the identification until September the 20th, when they told Jim he was in the morgue. So, in all honesty, I asked him, "Why did you do this? Like, why did you not tell me that you had Joel?" They used it as an excuse that they needed identification, but they didn't start it till the 20th, and it wasn't completed until October 3rd, the report from the odontologist. So they cremated my son September the 26th, and that's a number of days before the report was even completed. I did see my son, um, so I know that it was him, because I was with him at Brock and Visser Funeral Home. But do you see what I'm saying? The point is that, why did they have to do that when they announced he was publicly dead, right?
4 days after he was admitted on the 7th, they he was declared dead on the 11th.
Yes, and they claim he was found on the 10th, so he was obviously, but he wasn't found on the 10th, because according to the College of Physicians, he was found on the 9th, and his morgue tag lists him in the morgue September the 9th. However, the death date is September the 10th at 8:15 a.m., but he was
Hmm.
not even apparently brought from the river, according to the police report, until 11:30. So obviously they knew who this person was, which was my son, that they were waiting for to get out of the river.
Now, just to get it on the record, Joel was not an organ donor, right?
No, no, he wasn't. He actually told me that he didn't want his organs to be removed. And Joel's driver's license and his health card were expired. So they can't use those. Even if he was an organ donor, it was expired. Do you understand? So he didn't really want to renew it, because he didn't want his organs removed.
Yes, I heard Nova Scotia there. Um, it's like automatic when you
I've
get
heard
a
the same.
renewal. Yeah.
I've heard the same thing.
So forget Canadian bodily autonomy, eh? That's what we're governed by.
Yeah.
That's who's in charge here. I don't know anyone that would be okay with it. So I don't see the vote for what they're doing. I don't
No.
see the consensus.
Mhm.
Perhaps with the immigrants that they're bringing in, maybe there's a consensus there. Maybe they would like to see our numbers go down to make room for them. I don't know.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
but I mean, you have the evidence of the CTV scan,
See,
CT scan,
yeah.
And that's quite telling in itself that they did something illegal,
Yes.
and immoral, and and if if he was dead on the 10th instead of the 9th, if he was still alive, they might have kept him alive to take his organs because they need them alive to do that.
Hmm.
Just like with MAID, they use a paralytic, so people are paralyzed, so they don't, they look dead, but they're not.
Oh,
This is like being, aware of the surgery because the anesthesist didn't do his job, and you're awake. I've heard of that before, and that would be a nightmare.
yeah, that's
But
scary.
but with the paralytic, they can't scream, they can't say, "Give me some more painkiller." So
Yeah.
they're this is what MAID does. It puts them in that state of paralytic state.
Mm.
And then the second stage is like a drowning, like a waterboarding experience where they flood, fluid floods in their lungs, and it could
True.
take up to 24 hours to kill them. This is made. This is our, thou shalt not kill is something I can't get around. You know, even if I'm not a Christian, I still stand strong in the Ten Commandments, and I believe in them. To honor my father and my mother,
Mhm.
and to have no God before him, and all these. I have no issue with any of the Ten Commandments. I do have issue with the Ten Commandments of the Georgia Guidestones, which is basically telling me what they want to do
Right. Yeah.
and how many people they want. And I'm seeing stuff like this happening, and everyone's covered. There's no liability. You can get a vaccine, die 15 seconds later, and there's no accountability. It's not pulled from the shelf. No one gets fired. No one loses their jobs.
It's terrible.
Now, how is the police involved in this? The Niagara Regional Police are also defendants on this case.
Yes, they are. They are the people that would have brought him out of the water that they claim. And they also were supposed to be searching for him. And they said they even searched hospitals because I asked them. So they were hiding him. And I also learned on Facebook about a body from Facebook that was pulled from the river. And so I contacted my detective, Kelly Jerry, and I asked her if I could identify this body just in case, because I thought Joel was missing. And she said, "Oh, we don't show the public bodies," but they knew that Joel was that body, and it's on the police reports that I have. They identified him on the scene that this is Joel Edward Mills. They have his driver's license. Actually, before they even brought him out of that water, supposedly they were there at 6 in the morning waiting for his body to come because they had his incident number, his driver's license. And the interesting thing is that Joel's case was closed on September the 7th, which was the day that I reported him missing. I have the documents here. Everything that I'm saying, I have documents.
Do you think Joel committed suicide?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. He would not have done that. He wanted to have happiness in his life. He loved his family, had a little brother and a sister that he adored, and he is not somebody that would have done that. He had plans. And that's exactly what the police were trying to do, is make it look like that's what happened to him. But I see his on the scene photos, which I received from the police officers. I can see Joel inside of a white bag and in a yellow bag, and Joel has been forensically handled. He has string hanging from his nose, a stab wound on his forehead, on the back of his head, and on his side. He also had surgery at the back of his rectum. There's a surgical cut, and I believe that's where they took some of Joel's organs, is from that place, because I searched it online and I just learned that they can actually do that. And so that's what I think happened, because there's also gauze there. And so I'm sorry I have to be so graphic because I know it's not pleasant to hear this kind of information, but this there was also pen marks on Joel's forehead wound. So we can see that his beard was shaved, he had a full beard, and this is what I can see inside the body bag that they took the pictures of him in. So he was obviously in the morgue on the 9th, and somehow someone had to put him there to make it look like he was there. His death is listed as undetermined, and there was no water in Joel's lungs.
Wow.
Mhm.
And you say there was like stab wounds? So
Yeah, on his forehead and the back of his head, and on his side here. So he was stabbed.
he was murdered.
And his nose is broken, and none of this is listed in the autopsy report. His shoulder is dislocated, and he has wounds on his hand. His one of his hands clenched. Um, he looked squished, but he was recognizable. He wasn't bloated, but as I can explain, he was obviously in a morgue already, which is what the morgue tag says, September the 9th. I don't know how there's you see, it's really unusual. I don't know how he got to these specific places because there's absolutely no transportation records.
And you know, there's no commitment to reform in any department. Niagara
Mhm,
Health, the health services are an absolute debauchery. They showed their true colors. They're even forcing, people that work there to participate against their will,
mhm,
and taking the risk of us losing all our healthcare workers, and then we have nobody. So they were willing to take that risk. Nobody went to jail. The police, they cover for each other.
mhm,
They There was a guy who yelled out his window, "Hey," or something like "Hey, baby," or just being disrespectful to the police. But
mhm,
they stopped the car for this. They ended up tasing him, assaulting him, arresting him,
mhm,
just because they didn't like what he said. You know,
mhm,
the judge didn't go along with them, saying that they had no reason to stop the car. They had no reason to tase him. He wasn't armed. He was in handcuffs when they tased him. And
mhm,
as I told you before, I also was assaulted by the police for no reason. I was
mhm,
in my hotel room, and I'm the same person now as I was the first. You know, I treat others the way I want to be treated. So I wouldn't have never provoked violence from the police. So they assaulted me, stole my watch, gave me a criminal record,
mhm.
and they set me up.
That's
And
terrible.
nobody went to jail. Um, I wasn't even drunk. But
No.
as soon as they convinced me to go in the hallway, and it's right then and there, I was drunk, intoxicated in public, and that
Oh,
so they just all six of them just started hitting me,
oh
and
my
until I was unconscious, like it was ridiculous, you
oh.
know,
Was this
because
the
I'm
Niagara police? This Niagara region or
Niagara Police.
oh
Yes,
my goodness.
this is
Oh,
why your case is really hits to home because
really?
um, I've had experiences myself. This is what This is why why I'm suited for this role because I can empathize with a lot of my guests. I can understand. I understand pain and suffering,
Yeah.
and I'm humbled by it.
Mhm.
I'm humbled by my role, and it looks like Chris might be here. We have
Okay.
another guest coming. He's Oh no, that's not Chris. That's me. That's this beautiful picture you have of Joel.
Oh, thank you.
Now, this is Joel. 31 years old in his prime. You know, and it's so sad that
Yeah.
they saw the healthcare system saw healthy body parts
Mhm.
available. You know, and this should really hit home for Canadians that it doesn't matter who we vote for.
Mhm.
We have a big problem right from the top down
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
because no police are went to jail. Nobody that assaulted that man. Nobody lost their job. Nobody got reprimanded.
Oh,
They're all still working. They're all still getting paid.
that's
Not,
terrible.
there's no correction happening.
Mm.
So, and they're getting away with it. And this was years ago, my incident, a long time ago.
Yeah,
I
wow.
was in my 20s, so that's like, now I have to lie about my age. Let me see, that'd be 30-ish years ago.
Oh, wow, hey?
Yeah, so this has been going on a long time, and they
Mhm.
have a buddy system, and they like to get their anger out. There's the problem is the aggressive, angry police officers that are out there that just are angry, and they're like the worst left protesters, anti-protesters. The government, Antifa types.
Mm.
But they have guns, and that you have something in your hand, and they'll shoot you because I saw something in his hand. It looked like a weapon. I was
Yeah,
afraid for my life, so good thing I had my gun.
yeah.
So yeah, we've got a problem. We need a reform in the prison systems, police systems, in all the agencies. Healthcare, it has been usurped. Even long ago in the witch hunt of the Spanish Inquisition, and
Mhm,
all the healers that used plants to
mhm,
heal people. They were called witches, and they were killed, and then, the pharmaceutical industry came in and only addressed the symptoms and keeping you a patient for life
mm,
and living in fear
mhm.
if you don't take more pills. So they don't allow
Good.
treatment and cures to happen, but that's going to end because I openly talk about cures. I talk about it. I will tell you things your priest won't tell you, your doctor won't tell you, and your
Mhm.
politician won't tell you. This is the truth table. That's what you're gonna get. And if I
Okay.
have that knowledge, I'm gonna share it, even if it risks my own life, because everyone is a divine person. You're a divine soul. Joel was a divine masculine. Despite
Yeah.
none of us are perfect, we all fall short, but we're
Mhm.
still all divine. We all
Yeah.
deserve the dignity from our government and
Yes.
its agencies. And if we have to force that, we have to force it. We're not going to put up with it anymore because
No.
it's all getting revealed. The truth is out. We
Mhm.
know that you police officers are all chummy together and commit crimes together and get away with it, but you're not going to get away with it anymore.
No.
Um, and I hope everyone will support your case and Chris's case, who's going to be showing up soon.
Okay.
Uh, in about 10 minutes, he should arrive. But he's
Okay.
helped a lot. He's helped a lot, and I can't wait to hear what he has to say.
Mhm.
Because I would definitely love to get you to connected with Chris because
Wow.
he's such a beautiful soul and
Mhm.
and is there for others.
That's
And he
wonderful.
doesn't charge. He's pro bono. He's not a lawyer, but he has legal knowledge and
Mhm.
is quite willing to share. And we all need to learn that as well.
Yeah.
Whatever applies to your personal life. Certain laws may apply to the situation that could remedy.
Mhm.
That's what I hope for, remedy. And
Yeah.
what they did was not dignified. It was inhumane. It
Yes.
was it was a crime to me.
Yes, it was deliberate. It was deliberate. It wasn't an accident on their part. They were covering up, and I don't understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I can understand the covering up. I
Yeah.
can understand it because they know it's a crime. They
Mhm.
know there's no permission.
Mhm.
They just saw, ooh, healthy man, 31, bam.
Mhm.
Those parts are valuable to them.
Yeah.
But, I'm sick of being the commodity. You know, our commodities, oil, gold, iron, ore,
Mhm.
those are the commodities, and we should all benefit from those commodities. You know,
Mhm. Mhm. Yes.
those are ours. But our sacred bodily autonomy is the most precious thing that we have, and
Yes.
that has to be secure for
Mhm.
future generations. And these
Right.
sorts of things that happen to you should stop happening.
Yes.
It needs to end. That's why I
Okay.
hope your case goes as far as it needs to go.
Thank you.
With, yeah, for I mean for everyone else too.
Yes,
This could happen to anybody.
it could. Yeah, it could. Definitely.
I can see them not saving someone because they see the value in the parts.
Seems like that, doesn't it? Yeah.
It's an ugly, ugly, dark, evil thing that we're looking at here. And it started as soon as, with Trudeau's, with Pierre Elliott selling us to the bank. The Bank of Canada used to give interest free loans to the provinces, the cities, the federal government,
Mhm.
interest free. And
Yeah.
Pierre changed that. So the Bank
Really?
of Canada, yeah.
Wow.
1974, we had no food banks. We had no community housings because we
Mhm.
didn't need it.
No.
One income could support a family. And
Right.
that's what he took away from us, Pierre.
Wow,
But
eh?
Pierre was a traitor. He was a communist and openly talked about it. He was proud of it for some reason. And Justin, you know, he continued it. The apple didn't fall far from the tree with that one. First thing he did, totally anti-religion. Totally, they're teaching the Quran in school, but they're not allowing Christian beliefs. They find that inclusive is like a weapon. It's like we're gonna teach the pillars of Islam to your children,
Mm.
but Easter is about bunnies and chocolate.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane. But he legalized bestiality, which is again in the Bible. I read the
Mhm.
whole thing cover to cover.
Would
I
you?
also read the Quran cover to cover and the Gita and the Sumerian tablets, and
Wow.
because I want to hear what everyone has to say.
Right. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Because depending on their geographical area of their birth, it doesn't mean that they're being taught lies. I think everyone's being mixed truth and lies together. That's what I've concluded, that
Mhm.
they're all actually lying, and it only takes a real strong faith to be able to discern where the truth is and where the lie is. And I
Right.
think God has really granted me a lot of gifts that way, and probably why this is called the Truth Table, because
Mhm.
it's really inspired by my faith and my experiences, and even the worst experiences I've had, I made me stronger, and it made helped me to relate to other people and um, bring the right people together, and like it's just been so beautiful,
That's
and
great.
I want to follow through with your story right to the finish line, and bring you back and talk about it then, and the possible outcomes, and how this
Mhm.
may alter the system that we're, you know what would you call it, captured in,
Right.
because I don't think we can vote our way out of this. they're
No.
all they're all in on it. You know
Systematic.
what a genius thing though. If you want to take over a country, just become all the parties and pretend you oppose each other.
Right.
Because when they all voted for C4, they all voted against parental rights. They all voted against God when they legalized bestiality. You know,
Ooh.
they didn't have to legalize it. They could have just decriminalized it.
Mhm.
I still think it's debauchery, but you have to face God yourself. I'm not here to judge someone
Mhm.
who wants to do that. So be it. I don't care.
Mhm.
I don't have to. I don't have to carry anyone else's sin but my own,
Right. Yeah.
and I'm not really qualified to judge anyone else. Uh, uh,
No.
I and that's the humility of faith. It's knowing that we're not worthy. It makes it easier to not pass judgment on others. And this isn't really even about judgment. This is about deliberate neglect.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
100% deliberate and complicity. The police department, the health agencies, and the coroner's office.
Yes. And
All of them collectively committed a crime against a healthy young man.
mhm. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, even right to the funeral home as well, because they could have, you know, they could have done something and they didn't. They just had me sign a waiver so that I could view him because I couldn't have viewed him without signing the waiver. And his body was completely compromised, which is why they shrouded him. And that's when I wanted to see under his head because I wanted his hair. But when I lifted that sheet, his head isn't there. This is not there, the cranial here. So I couldn't have, I just wrapped it up because I was very upset with what my kids were there too, a couple of my kids. And so we were upset. So we covered that immediately. And that's a shock that it was like that.
Yeah, it doesn't usually happen when someone drowns, which is what I'm guessing they're going by. They found him in the water. I mean, how he got into the water. Is there camera CTV footage, maybe
They
from one
said
of the
they
buildings?
Yeah, they said they checked, but I didn't see it myself. So they said they didn't see Joel there at all. They checked all the Table Rock cameras in that area. But you would think somebody would have seen, or there could be cameras that I haven't been aware of. Um,
Yeah,
but
or even the wounds of the knife. Was there a knife nearby? You know, the weapon. I would guess
he,
not.
his shovel was missing because Joel had a shovel and he was going to go camping, and that shovel's not anywhere to be found. And all of his clothing that Joel was wearing were found at his father's house, like all his belongings, his watch that was brand new for his birthday. It's rusty and it's all scratched, and the clothing that he had on at the Dollarama, because Joel was last seen at the Dollarama on September the 6th at around 10:26 on camera. But unfortunately, I only have an edited version of that particular footage. They will not give me the full footage. So they said there's people in that particular footage that they don't want me to have. So it's kind of strange.
Wow. At
Hmm.
every angle, eh?
Yeah, and he was unclothed. Like Joel was found without his clothing, but they're at his father's house. So
Now, they didn't tell you anything, but did they tell his father anything?
that I don't know, because I'm divorced from him for several years. So
Mm.
he's not really telling us too much. He did tell the investigator that because we hired an investigator to help us
Yeah,
find Joel. He
yeah.
said to that investigator, this doesn't matter because Joel is already gone. I'm only doing this for Shelley's benefit. So he was telling the investigator Joel was already gone, right? So he said, wrap this up quickly because I don't want to pay you much. So even that was very unusual. When we were discussing hiring an investigator, he said they're going to pin this on me. Like he was worried about it. And we said, what are you talking about? Like, we're trying to find him. That's why we need an investigator. So for him to say that, he knew already that Joel was gone because he's aware. He knows. He knows.
Well, I mean, I can only speculate from what what I've read and what you've said. But yeah, like I said, the 9th and 10th of
Hmm.
September, um, that's that's a big red flag for me. That he appears to have been alive for that one day, and then declared dead on the 10th,
Hmm.
and his organs were missing at the
On the
CT scan.
scan, yes, on the 12th. Yeah.
So they moved really quickly, took what they wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, this story breaks my heart. It really does. And
Mm,
I'm trying to hold it together. It's not easy because I understand, I can relate, and this isn't something I want anyone to go through.
no, no, it
Eh,
is not something we want anyone. It's a nightmare that I haven't woke up from at this point yet.
So you have a case coming forward, or you? looking to finance a legal team to help you?
I'm trying to. I've been calling as many as I can. I've had some referrals as well. Unfortunately, I haven't had a lawyer willing to take the case because it's involving so many institutions that are pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Like the Superior Court's really about money as opposed to justice. So they want to make sure they can win the case. And if they can't, then it's not worth it for them to put all that effort into it, knowing that even to win is really going to be difficult. So that's what I've found. Even if I'm willing to pay them, unless I have a substantial amount of money, they don't really want my case.
Huh. So
Yeah.
no court date then, obviously.
I have some court dates because I've
Okay.
already started. I'm representing myself, so I've already sued them. It's in the Woodstock courthouse, and they're all there. There's 5 cases, and so
Yeah.
I have had some dates already. Jim is in default, and and so he's not allowed to defend himself anymore because he didn't put in a defense. So then his case is going to be in the fall, and then I have the police on February the 25th. They would like to strike my claim, but I would like to have leave to amend my claim. So that's what we're discussing
Mm-hmm.
at that hearing. They are in default, but they're saying only some of them are in default, but really they all are. So I'm
Yeah.
finding it very difficult. I'm not a lawyer, and I don't, um, I can't get everything just so correct. So it's easy for them to possibly strike my claim, but that's not what I want. I'm going to continue to try to amend it, and hopefully the judge will allow me that. And that's what I've requested for, is for them not to strike my claim so that I can amend it.
Hmm. Well, to me, it's an open and shut case. Joel
Mhm.
did not have ovaries.
No,
I mean, what the hell?
yeah, yeah. And they said
Uterus and a uterus. They actually said he has a uterus and
they
ovaries.
they they did say that. Yeah.
Oh my
Um,
god.
they did. Yeah, it's like I agree with you. That's a serious thing to make a mistake on.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, who's paying these people? But
Mhm.
you have a hearing on April 17th, right?
Yeah, that's with the
The
coroner.
coroners.
Yeah, that's the
Yes.
coroner. And the funeral home as well, Brock and Visser, and that one is April the 10th. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, because I also sued Brock and Visser Funeral Home. And so that one's the 10th of April. And then the hospital, Niagara Health, we're still in discovery stage. So we
Okay.
haven't, I don't have a hearing date yet for that one.
Well, my most amazing friend ever, Chris, has arrived, and I'm so
Okay.
grateful for you, brother. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for
I don't
having
know
me.
how much. I don't know how much you've heard, but we do
Um, I,
have a case. Sorry, go ahead.
I just got on, so I'm sorry. I know what this is about, but I didn't hear anything up until this point.
Yes. So the autopsy. He had a CT scan. He wasn't an organ donor, and uh, body parts were missing. They had taken everything, his brain and organs. And she has a hearing April 17th with the coroner,
Mhm.
and but everyone was involved. Niagara Regional Police, Niagara Health, Toronto's chief coroner's office, who stated he had a uterus and ovaries. So there was negligence on every level here. Right, even the police,
Yeah.
because he went into the hospital. Um, oh, September 7th, 2023. Having been assaulted, and 4 days later, actually, you go ahead, Shelley. You tell him.
Yeah.
September 9th. September 9th. Tell him what happened September 9th.
September 9th, he was listed in the morgue. And there were the College of Physicians, they've told us that he was actually found on September the 9th. And there was a scene in Niagara Falls on Hiram Road and River Road on September the 9th where they pulled 3 bodies out. But there was one that was a 19-year-old that was actually afraid, and he jumped over. The police were trying to talk to him, and he jumped in front of the police. But then there were 2 other bodies that we don't have their a name. But we saw Dr. Walton. She's the coroner. I don't know if I
Mm-hmm.
should be mentioning their names. I apologize if I shouldn't say the names of the people, but I should say the coroner, and then
Yep.
the body removal. He was there as well at that night, and that removal, the body removal, says that he didn't transport Joel, but he is there on September the 9th. However, the police said that Joel was found on September the 10th, right? And they said he was found at the Queenston boat dock ramps. So that's a totally contradiction to what his medical death certificate and his OHIP billing says, that he was in the hospital, and it says he was alive and he was injured. And I learned this not too long ago, October 2025. And this all happened in 2023. But I've been investigating with the Freedom of Information and the IPC and the Register of General, which is where I got the medical death certificate. Then I'm still in IPC. I'm trying to understand about the organ removal. So we're looking to see. I've had to go to IPC because Freedom of Information, their search results were not good enough. So I'm there. And even with the police, I'm still with the IPC as well. But I'm hoping with the courts now that the judge will be able to tell them to give me the information that they've redacted, like all the information that's being held back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, if this is before the Information and Privacy Commissioner, they have to agree that, like if you were originally denied, they have to agree that you're entitled to the information. So you will have received a response from them saying why you don't deserve the information. What have they told you about why you're not allowed to see the information?
I'll be honest with you, it's still ongoing. And they told me it takes a long time. So they haven't denied, they've given me some stuff, like they gave me the footage for the Dollarama, which was September the 6th, where Joel was seen on footage, the last day that he was alive. And so I have only some of that footage. They wouldn't give me the whole footage, so they've edited it. And the crucial points they don't want me to see. Plus, the reports themselves are heavily redacted, like the location, different things that would be relevant, so that I could understand the chain of custody as to how Joel went from from being injured to the hospital to the morgue. It's all not there. So I'm still on that. I'm still in the IPC, and they just told me these can take a couple years. Is this true, what they're telling me?
I personally went through a substantial challenge with them, which ended fairly recently. I don't know, a few months ago. It lasted from the beginning of 20. I'm trying to remember. I think it was the beginning of 2024. I'm trying. I'm even kind of leaving. I myself don't recall how long it's been, but it was a long time. It was definitely a long time. So I don't.
Okay.
I don't know. It could be definitely a couple of years or longer. And the whole thing here is I need to be able to understand if you, like, originally they denied you, right? So you go to the institution and you ask them for whatever it is that you think you're entitled to under FIPA or MFIPA, the Freedom of Information and Protection and Privacy Act, or Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection and
And I've
Privacy
done that.
Act. Yeah, you did that. So then you basically submitted that, and they denied you. So whatever their denial says, and they'll say stuff again. I've been through this. I know everything about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that you would be talking about any of this. So yeah, when you do a FOI request, and they give you an excuse, they give excuses like it's not within the jurisdiction of the Act. We're not an institution as defined under the Act, whether that's FIPA or MFIPA. We're not an institution. Or what else do they say? They say those things. They say that, yeah, jurisdiction, and we're not there, or we've also given you all that we have. We can't give anything more, and you're asking for too much. So in your case, you haven't done anything unreasonable. You've asked them for things that you're entitled to, and you have the right to get this information. But they will have given you an excuse, and I'm wondering, because you say it's ongoing, I understand that, but they rejected you, and then you appealed it to the Information and Privacy Commissioner. So what was their rejection? What did they say? Without naming the names, what did they say? What did they tell you?
Well, the police said that for the footage, there were some people in it, and they just didn't want the people to be seen. That's what they said.
So you just blur their faces.
Yeah, that's interesting. I suppose I could request that. And then
think about all things on TV like that, where they show you, there's that show Cheaters and so many different things where they never want to be seen, right? So they blur everyone's faces. Cops, from decades ago, which has been on since the 80s, they blur people's faces. They blur people's faces and everything. What is the problem?
Yeah, I agree with you. So that was for that footage, and the reports themselves, like the police reports, they're like, for instance, on September the 7th, they redacted the location. Like this is kind of what you can see. It's heavily redacted.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, for instance, I can't see the location as to where Joel was. Do you know what I mean? Like, because they don't want me to see those kinds of things.
They have to have a reason for that, though, right?
Yeah, there's this one too. Like, they're all kind of the same.
Yeah.
They don't give the reasons why they don't want me to have the location. They just gave it to me like that, and they didn't explain.
Yeah. So the whole thing here is the IPC will basically ask for rounds of submissions. So they'll ask them to explain their position. They'll ask you to explain why you want the information, or whatever it is. You're entitled to it. You have to explain. It's important because someone died, next of kin, and I really need this information. And that's really what it's all about. And if you're intending on bringing a lawsuit, that's a separate process. You can, and that's something where I think you probably would need legal advice, because there's something called discoverability. And that's where, when you discover the claim, that's when you have to bring the claim within 2 years. So in this case, you may be able to wait it out. You may not be able to wait it out. You may have to bring the claim.
Just wanted to share something.
Yeah.
I've already done that. Like, I've sued them all. I've served them all, and I have some hearing dates set up. And I have asked for discovery for the police, but they've been in default. I don't even have their defense yet. And I served them all July 18th, 2023. So I was within the 2 years, because it was ahead of September. So I went ahead and did it on my own, because I was struggling to get a lawyer, because the case is very complicated. So I've had to do it by myself, because it was really important that I get to the truth as to what happened to my son.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing here is, I mean, you're not likely to succeed. I've seen this many times. I don't want to be negative, but
no, I understand.
They'll have the attorneys general's lawyers. They'll have everyone. They'll have the cops' lawyers. They'll have everyone. They'll have like 3 sets of lawyers, and they'll say right away. Well, it's not right away. It means 3 years or whatever. But they'll bring a motion to strike, and they'll say that for no cause of action. That's a standard thing to do. They'll say no cause of action, because whenever you sue someone, you need to have something which is defined in the common law as a tort, as a cause of action, as the wrong committed, civil wrong committed. And you're going to need to prove the elements of that tort, on the balance of probabilities. So what what the motion to strike when it's brought is to say, we, assuming all the facts pleaded are true, you still don't have a case because you haven't pleaded a proper cause of action. So
I
this is, yeah.
I did find that with the police, and so I've requested from the judge to amend the claim so that it's not negligence, it's now misfeasance, because it was a deliberate act. So it is a criminal act. It's not just like an accident, it was deliberate. So that's what I'm working on right now. And so I've asked for leave to be able to amend the claim to make it from negligence to malfeasance. I did ask some, like I call pro bono sometimes, and they give some advice for that.
I know, but
And that's
yeah, like the two things here, you just mentioned two, because I didn't ask you, you just mentioned it. You mentioned negligence, you mentioned misfeasance. It's called misfeasance of public office. They're both, negligence is hard. Negligence is probably the easiest thing to prove, but the issue with negligence is, and it seems like that's a good thing to plead, but you have to prove that whoever you're suing for negligence acted as the reasonable person in their position at approximately that time would act in that around the same type of circumstances. So when you're suing the police are very difficult to sue, obviously.
I see that.
Yeah.
Because they
So
have
you
to
have
be care of duty.
Yeah, so you have to prove with the police officers, and this is established in the Court of Appeal here. I've looked at this because I know of other lawsuits against the police. And so when you're suing the police, you have to prove that the officers involved did not act in accordance with how a reasonable officer at approximately around that time with those similar circumstances would have acted. And the only way you can prove that, you have to prove there's three elements of negligence. One, and I'm not, to be clear to everyone here, I'm not a lawyer, I just play one on TV. So look it up for yourself, contact legal counsel. But the point
Oh my God, me too, Chris.
yeah. The point about negligence, there's three things you have to prove. One is duty of care, so that
Yep.
whoever owed you a duty of care. Number two is proximity, meaning that sometimes negligence is several people removed. And then I'll go, well, we weren't really part of it. There's no proximity. And the last thing is something happened that was reasonably foreseeable, and that at the end of the day, it led to damages in some way. So we have the damages part, obviously, but you have to prove the duty of care part's the hardest for suing the police. The duty of care you have to prove through policy and procedure, which you don't have. You have to prove that they didn't really obey the policy and procedure of the police, that specific police department at that time. And the only way to do that is to either get them to produce it somehow, and most of the time they won't produce it, or you have to get an expert to testify and say, I know for a fact that the police officers or officers involved, they didn't follow policy procedure at that point, around that point in time, given the circumstances, given how a reasonable officer would have acted, they did not act reasonably. So that's negligence. Misfeasance of public office is a bunch of other stuff. I've looked at it. The main case is a 2003 case where a guy was killed by the police, Supreme Court case called Odabji Estate. So I've looked at all this stuff, and ultimately that is even more difficult to prove, definitely more difficult to prove than negligence, because you have to prove that whoever committed this misfeasance meant to do harm. And the only way to prove that is you have to be able to get something that indicated their state of mind. That's why fraud and misfeasance are the hardest things to prove, because you have to prove that they knew something, They knew or ought to have known, but they definitely knew there was something in their state of mind. And if you can't prove that, you can't prove the tort. That's why negligence is the easiest thing to prove, because you don't need to prove whether they knew anything. You just need to prove that their behavior was unreasonable, given the duty of care established. So I'm just saying that this is just it has nothing to do with being, someone said, don't be intimidated by lawyers. I'm not talking about being intimidated by lawyers. I'm saying the fact of the matter is the way things work in Superior Court particularly is it's not like small claims court where you have some leeway. And even in small claims court, it's not good. In Superior Court, You're going to have all these lawyers against you, and they're going to say no cause of action. You can't prove anything. You're not using the right legal test. You're not using the right torts. You didn't plead the proper particulars in the statement of claim. And to be clear, I've been through a lot of stuff in court. I've never been through a superior court action, statement of claim, notice of action, anything like that. I've been through everything else but an action. Why? Because there's so much stuff you have to do. There's so many rules of the rules of civil procedure that you have to follow. And you can get beat on the procedure. With other stuff, it's easier. With an action, they're deliberately made difficult because it has nothing to do with you. It's nothing to do with self-represented litigants. They just don't want people going to court. The reason why is there's a limited amount of court space. So they only want people going to court if you really, really, really need to go to court. They just really want everyone to settle stuff outside of court, because if everyone said, damn, they're torpedoes, I want my day in court, stuff wouldn't be heard for 10 years, maybe longer, because we just don't have the court space. So that's a practical reality of going to court, whether it's a prosecution in superior court, which is high crimes, like murder and things like that. If something like that, they're competing with you. The prosecutor is the Crown Attorney's office is competing with you. There's if you and everyone else who wants to go to superior court for whatever it is that you want to go to. You have a certain amount of judges you can before, you have a certain amount of courtrooms you can book, and there's trials that are booked that it could be 14 days or longer. And so if you book a trial for a certain amount of time, they won't give it to you unless they really think you have it. And anyway, so I'm just giving the practical realities of superior court compared. Even small claims court can take a year or longer to even be heard in small claims court. Superior court could definitely be longer, and there's no time limit because this is not criminal. You can't, and that's another thing. You can't plead criminal stuff in a civil proceeding. People make this mistake all the time. Who even some lawyers do. They try to plead criminal stuff, and so you can't do that. That's a total big no-no. You have to plead the case, the tort, that is the civil wrongs that are committed, and you have to plead those elements of those civil torts. That's it. You can't, if you want to bring up criminal stuff, you can bring it up, sort of just kind of hammer home your point, but at the end of the day, it's off on the side. That's peripheral stuff. That's just to kind of prove your point. It's to make your case look really, really stupid, simple to the judge. But this is the problem, and I've seen it, and it has nothing to do with being intimidated by the other side. They will try to intimidate you, no question. But I'm saying that the practical reality is the judges don't, and the court administration don't want people to go to court unless you really need to go to court. They want you to settle it out of court. And if you're not capable of settling it out of court and a motion to strike is brought and you don't survive it, that is the ideal scenario for the court system, because they don't want stuff going to court that is improperly pleaded. And this is why people go to law school and all that. I didn't do it. I don't know anything about this stuff, in terms of actions. I know that much. I know some small claim stuff, and I've looked at superior court actions. I've looked at statements of claim, and I've seen what gets them struck. I've seen what very experienced lawyers have done during COVID, and there's so many of these claims that were brought, they never got anywhere near court. And we're talking about like $1 million raised here, $1 million raised there. Counsel who really should have known better, and then nothing ever even makes it to court. It's either struck for being bad beyond argument, or it's struck for no cause of action, or it's struck for being frivolous, vexatious, abusive process. There's many different ways to strike a claim, but this is what's happened with supposedly competent counsel. So that's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
I would
just wanted to
strongly suggest getting legal advice because of something like that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You have a little bit of what do you call it? Background noise, Chris?
Oh,
I don't know if it's your echo or something in your settings.
you know what? I'm going to try to get off of my speaker. I'm going to put my headphones on. And
That's what I have to do too.
1 second.
And we also had a question for you, Shelley. Whether you have filed claims for your insurance or they with their insurances or the governing bodies?
The funeral home is with their insurance. They're with
Okay.
their insurance. Yeah, the other ones are just regular lawyers. Yeah.
No, yeah, the background noise stopped. It worked, Chris. Sorry to everyone who heard that. I was trying to find it first, but I'm glad it wasn't me. I have to wear
Should be
headphones
better.
now because it happens. Now, the coroner, the, the report says he has ovaries, and I mean, what can she do about this? Ovaries and this is their final report
Hmm.
at the
They're, they're,
coroner's office.
they're saying that a male has ovaries.
Well, they
They, in their autopsy findings, Joel autopsy report describes his uterus and ovaries as unremarkable.
But it's a male, and they're saying ovaries are
I know.
unremarkable. So this
What
is
the hell?
this is exactly the type of thing where it is obvious negligence, or I would say gross negligence. This is the type
Gross,
of thing
yes.
with a strong lawyer.
Yeah.
You don't want to go to court on this. You just want them to settle with you. You want them to plead mercy and say we don't want this ever going to court. They will take this to court because, well, it won't get to court. It'll get to a motion to strike because they know
Yeah.
that you're not going to win. But it's very obvious negligence, when you plead negligence, if you say gross negligence, that's just a matter of the degree to which the negligence occurred. So, and
Yeah.
this is all, it's in a 1940s Supreme Court case. Like this is the case that you plead for gross negligence because they haven't had to revisit it since then. Because we know gross negligence is wanton disregard for any type of proper, care, duty of care. It's total wanton disregard. That's what they call it. So this is the kind of thing where you do want a strong lawyer, where they do plead, because misfeasance of public office is a lot harder to win on.
okay.
Negligence and gross negligence, you can get them to beg for mercy if you have a good lawyer, because
Mm,
if they're saying ovaries, they're gonna have to explain that. It's completely it's clown world. It's insanity. But good luck for you to prove it. I mean, you've already said you want to change the statement of claim, and you might have had improperly pleaded particulars and things like that, which is going to happen, of course. I mean, there's a case with the JCCF Council, 4 lawyers, and there was this motion to strike that was brought, and they said improperly, Attorney General of Canada, improperly pleaded particulars. These are 4 lawyers. Okay,
mm,
so I'm saying because this is so damning, I've never heard of anything this damning. I really haven't,
mm,
and I haven't seen that much. It's not like as I said, I'm not a lawyer, but
mhm,
I've never heard of something this stupid. So if you bring a proper pleading, you may seek leave from the court and then amend the pleading, and you do it right, they may just cave. In fact, they have to cave because this can never get to court. If it gets to court, they'll never be able to explain how they found uterus and ovaries or whatever in a male. It's impossible. It makes no
yeah,
sense. It's embarrassing. This is the kind of thing that would make the media. Not only that, if you have a good lawyer, they'll threaten to break it to the media. So this is the kind of thing that you want because it's
yeah,
open court. The open court principle allows it to get to the media. So,
mhm,
and this is the kind of thing it definitely would make the news, and then and the whoever in the news would go, what the hell are they doing in the courts? They're literally entertaining that
mhm,
someone had ovaries, that they're a male and they had ovaries, unless this is
mm,
some kind of trans thing that they're gonna that's the only takeaway from them, that they would say, well, it's someone who identified as a female or whatever, or sorry, it was a female that
yeah,
identified as a male. It's, of course, that's not true. So I'm just
no.
saying that this is the kind of thing where you do have a lot of leverage, but this is
Mhm,
leverage with respect to the facts. And if you have a properly pled case, you have a good lawyer to negotiate this, I have no doubt that they'll settle it with you.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to have a really like do you have someone in mind, or do you know people that would
I
be willing to take something
I
like this on?
I do. I got to see more about your case, but I mean, based on that alone, if they literally are saying, "Oh yeah, the autopsy says," and this is a wrongful death suit, and it's negligence and maybe gross negligence. But the point is, if you plead all that, and we'll have to see what's in the evidence. But thus far, it sounds good. So I do know some lawyers. I have know various lawyers. I'm not connected to any particular lawyers. Then I could definitely send it after I know about your case. Like, I've heard what you're saying now, but I got to see like stuff in paper. So once I see that, then you could be in a very good position, and I could vet it for whoever, the lawyer or lawyers, and you'll probably have more than one call about it with more than one lawyer. And you'll have to figure out, how much it'll cost, and you'll have to get estimates, and then you could proceed. But I definitely think that this is something that it makes no sense to go to trial for something this dumb. This is totally for something to be settled.
I agree. I agree because the evidence is pretty clear. I mean, they put these documents forward. I mean, he had elliptical incisions near his genitalia area.
His rectum, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a clean cut there and a little piece of cotton that I can see when his body was in the body bag, because I asked for all the scene pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And he had gauze hanging from his nose as well. His nose is broken. A lot of this was not in the autopsy. Wounds, like either defensive wounds, or it almost looks like an IV, to be honest with you, was here. On the autopsy photo, it's very possible there was a trach here. Yeah, so I have a lot of evidence in my what they've given me from the scene photos and the autopsy photos and the CT scan too.
I should just make one other point. I don't think there's anything more I need to say after this, which is this: that you're saying all this stuff, and we hear it. You could show me all this stuff. You could show Paul all this stuff. You could show 100 people in the room all this stuff, and at the end of the day, and they can all potentially testify in court. None of that means anything. The only thing that's going to mean anything is you're going to need someone who's a coroner or an ex-coroner or someone who's a licensed pathologist who's gone through medical school, and to basically say, I'm going to write your report and say this is completely insane. Remember I said about duty of care, saying this stuff makes no sense. There's no kind of reasonable kind of explanation for any of this. There's no coroner would ever do something like this. It makes no sense at all. And then saying what a coroner would have done, a reasonable coroner would have done in those circumstances. And that's not about, remember I said about suing the police, that's about policy and procedure. With a coroner, it's like established stuff, that it's not like things that are updated every so often with respect to how police should be treated, like treating crowds and individual arrests and search incident to arrest and things like that. It's about what do coroners do, and why would coroners make certain cuts? Why would they do that? And what that coroner, and in his or her honest opinion, what any coroner would do in that circumstance, and that what they did departed from that type of duty of care, or markedly departed, was a wanton disregard. And this is, so I'm saying, if you have a good lawyer, the lawyer will say, you know what, we don't have a report yet, but we can get one like that, and you're dead. We're going to get this report, and we're going to bury you. This is going to be so embarrassing, and you know what, maybe someone in the media will hear about it. If you do it right, they're going to settle this. But you need, like, you haven't mentioned anything thus far about, you talk to some coroner, and you have someone, and they're right there. I have a couple of people.
Yeah, but I don't want to talk too much about that.
No, you don't have to say anything. I'm just saying that another thing is, whenever you have any type of legal action, doesn't matter what it's, a motion, application, action, doesn't matter. You have to qualify that expert properly in court. So you have to know how to qualify them. You have to know how to do that. There's like a Rule 53. So that's one thing, one of several things you have to do. And when you go to a trial, you're asking them stuff on the stand, but you can get stuff sworn beforehand that you still have to qualify them as an expert. If you don't do that, and I've seen this blown, like during COVID, I've seen it blown many times,
Okay.
like to the point where like my mouth is agape. I'm like, what? You people are lawyers. What the hell are you doing? So
Mm,
you have to know that whoever you have will be qualified as an expert, and then you have to actually know how to qualify them as an expert.
mhm,
So if you these are other hurdles that are aside from knowing the rules of civil procedure, knowing the case law, knowing the statutory law, knowing the rules of evidence, knowing
mhm,
all that, then you have to know how to qualify an expert and how to navigate the rules of civil procedure because the what is it called I'm trying to remember the name of it. The law commission. I think it's a law commission, but there are other people involved. They want to rewrite this stuff to make it more like easier to access justice in civil proceeding,
mhm,
and part of that is kind of reducing expert evidence. So if you want expert evidence, you better make sure it's right. So
yeah,
these are things that I'm not saying they're necessarily cracking down on, but you have to have it right because if you don't have it right, the other side will jump all over it, and then you will not be able to prove anything to whoever. If
mhm,
it's a jury, that's one thing. That's a whole other thing that I is way beyond me. You
mhm,
got to do a jury notice. You got to do and all of that stuff. Choosing jurors. I don't. I've seen movies. That's
mhm,
my experience. And otherwise, a judge only trial. You would never, ever, ever want this to appear in a. I can tell you that judge only trial. Never, never. You want this in front of a jury. The jury. You want them to laugh at how stupid this is. But to even get there, you have to go over several major hurdles. Anyway, that's
right.
all I'll say. I can
Yeah.
discuss the
Well, I
rest of
mean,
it.
if they harvest the organs, they destroyed the evidence and they
Yes.
cremated the body. So it's like cut and run,
Mm,
and that's what
I
they did
still,
to you.
but I still
yes.
think you have pictures and you have stuff about
Yeah.
describing ovaries in a male. Those two things alone, irrespective of destroying the evidence, proves negligence. In my view,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you have to properly plead it. You need a hard nosed negotiation with a lawyer
Y-
because
Right.
Mhm,
they don't care. With you, you don't. If you say anything to whoever opposing counsel is, unless you say everything is what is without prejudice, it can all be used against you. This is why you
Yep.
have someone to represent you because
Yep.
whatever the
mhm,
lawyer says, even with them, they'll do stuff without prejudice. But it's whatever the lawyer says. It's not what you say. If you say it, they're going to use it against you. If a
Yeah.
okay.
lawyer represents you, I know people are like the lawyers are all corrupt and they swear allegiance to the crown. And I'm like, there's a reason why you have lawyers. It's so that
Mhm,
you're not there to not incriminate yourself. That's criminal, but it's incriminating on a civil basis. They'll
mhm,
use anything.
Yeah.
When they say everything you say could be used against you in a criminal proceeding. That's the
mhm,
police. This is civil is much worse. They got to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. In a civil proceeding, just beyond bounds of probabilities, if they can tip the scales, even if you have a super strong case, even if you had all the stuff like that, you had the body, you had all that.
mhm,
If they get you to just screw up because they bait you because they do it legally and they bait you, and then what are you going to
mhm,
do? Then the most you can do is complain to the law society that they baited you. This
mhm,
is
Mm.
you got to know what you're doing, and that's why people do employ lawyers. And there are a lot of idiot lawyers out there, just like there are a lot of idiot electricians, and there are a lot of
mhm.
idiot doctors, and a lot of idiots. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Hmm.
anyway, sorry, I've said way too much, but these are so many different things to think about. Yeah.
Well, I do appreciate you, Chris. I mean, you have helped so many people because a lot of people just don't know this stuff. They haven't read the documents and the laws and just to have a basic understanding of what their rights are. And you have been helping people for years now, and I've seen it. So I hope this has helped you, Shelley. Because we do want remedy, and I think it would be wise for them to settle out of court because
Of course.
it would absolutely destroy them, their credibility, and that's the last thing the police want or the coroner's office or Niagara Health.
Mhm.
They don't want to tarnish their reputation, but it's pretty tarnished already. This removing parts and then, oh my God, how do you do an autopsy when all the organs are gone? You
Exactly.
know,
Yeah, you can't. You can't do
it's. But I will send all the information to you, Chris, if you want
Sure.
to connect with Shelley and talk to her further outside of the show. You know,
Yep.
I
Yeah.
Yeah, please
Okay.
I
do.
think that would be amazing.
Hmm.
And I want to thank you all at home for watching
Can I
and
say one more
just
thing?
yes,
I
please,
just it's just
please.
about the Skelly case. I did say I
Mm.
want to mention this the Adam Skelly
Yes.
Adamson barbecue case is being heard February 25th, 26th, 27th. So like in 3 weeks, about 3 weeks. This case has been waiting to be heard for about 5 years. So this case has been long coming, and there are 6 experts for Skelly's side, and there's one expert for the government, and the government has not challenged any of the evidence, other than to say that for the government just disagrees with the 6 experts on the Skelly side. The
God.
Concerned Constituents of Canada, which I'm a co-founder and director, it's a federally incorporated not-for-profit, has been the official sponsor of this case for a while, for about 3 years, and there's the amount of hurdles that are being overcome for this to be heard at the end of this month is
Mm.
unbelievable. So all I'm going to say is there's a video that was just put out yesterday. It was the official launch of this video. I'm going to send it. Maybe I don't know how to post
Yeah,
it
send it
here,
to me.
but I'm going to send it to Paul, and then you
Yes.
can maybe I can. Yeah, I can't. I don't know how to post it here. The video it was just posted on YouTube yesterday. I have I did send it via Facebook, so I know Paul, you do have it. You can
Oh,
look at my page; it's right there. And I'll send it to you as well again. And this should be shared with everyone because this case, there's a lot that is at stake, and the government doesn't have a case in terms of their defense. And
oh.
this has taken 5 years, over $500,000. 5 years. We're still, in terms of what's owed to council, there's quite a bit. But nevertheless, we've gotten to the
Mm.
point where this is actually going to be heard, and there's nothing much the government can do because they've already tried so many times to stop this from being heard. It will be heard, and they don't really have anything. So
Mm.
like I was telling Shelley, I've seen a lot, and I've seen all of these COVID cases, like literally none of them have been heard. This is the only case, and COVID's been over since 2022. Like they pulled all the restrictions. It was like March, April of 2022. It's nearly 4 years later. So you can't sue anyone because you have 2 years. You can't bring some kind of application to challenge the law because the law is, it was revoked or repealed in nearly 4 years ago. So once that happens, then it's moot. Adam's case is not. There's
Mm.
nothing moot about it because he was criminally charged. So this still is unresolved, right? So there's nothing moot about it. So this case is critical. And if you and people are, I'm sure there are people who are negative about this, going, "You'll never win." And I'm like, no, this is something where even the most biased judge is going to have a very hard time if you have someone. Assuming there's no question. I mean, there's bias in humanity, and when you have legal stuff and you have people fooled for so long, there's going to be bias. People are not going to want to be told that they're idiots, right? That they were idiots
No.
for years and they continue to be idiots years later.
Yep.
So you're gonna whoever is hearing this, unless they're really open-minded, and I would probably say they're probably out of like nearly about 100 justices, probably 90 of them are super open-minded and would love to hear this case. At the end of the day, we don't know who will hear the case. All I'm
Now, is this the
saying is
right
that
one here?
this is the one. Accountability is coming. A 6-minute video. This is the one. Yeah.
Okay, if you don't
So
mind, I'll show it right now.
please.
Good evening. It was another chaotic day at Adamson Barbecue in Etobicoke. This is the third day the owner, Adam Skelly, vowed to defy lockdown orders and open for indoor dining. But today, police changed the locks on him before he could enter. And during the lunch hour, he was arrested.
your justification for violating his charter of rights and freedoms under the emergency order. And that justification must be proven every 30 days. Doug Ford saying we can't know his experts and we can't see the data is not justification.
Buddy, let me tell you something. You need to shut down. You're putting people's lives in jeopardy. You know, I always try to be nice the first time, but this guy is just totally ignoring public health officials.
Where's he going?
This is a fundamental fracture about to happen in monumental biblical portions in Canada. Here today, this restaurant chooses to stay open and defy these lockdowns. They're unconstitutional, and they go against our human rights.
The government is betting on ignorance and intimidation, and they're gonna lose because when you come to the point where you have nothing to lose, you're gonna do whatever it takes.
He's a hero. He's a hero. You fucking Lambo bastards. Good job, guys. God bless you, man.
I cannot stand thinking all the big stores are open, no problem, and then killing these little people. It's just not right. It's right before God.
I think we realized what we saw the last couple of days was the most egregious misuse of public resources and police power that any of us have ever been witness to. They wanted to put the fear of government into your spine so you don't have the courage to stand up and do the same thing that Adam did. His private property in a so-called free country is now their property.
Police arrived early this morning to change the locks on the doors after Shelley vowed to reopen to indoor dining for the third day.
The reason none of this will stand up in court is you cannot violate our charter rights, even under an emergency, unless you have extreme justification.
So, will you provide me justification for violating his charter of rights and freedom on multiple levels? You have absolutely no legal authority to be here, and everything you're doing here is going to go through law.
The bottom line is, they know what they did will not stand up in court. That's how this ends, immediately. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been telling you this. This is united non-compliance.
This is what united non-compliance looks like. When everybody from all walks of life realizes that this is full of shit and they can't do anything. Look, we're here. We're inside. I'm going to start cooking. You want something? I'm going to make you some food right now.
All we have to do is exactly what Adam Shelley did. He showed you all exactly how to end this. And he's going to embarrass them all in court.
does it feel like to put defiance on the menu?
Fucking amazing, bro.
All right, I'm going to share the links in the comments everywhere to that, and I hope to have you back on, Chris, to either right before or any updates that happen afterwards. It's a time of reckoning for Canada in both these cases, and they both need to be heard and rectified.
Absolutely.
And like I said to you, Shelley, that Chris is always, he's always been there. He's always been involved. He's, he keeps us united, and he shows, love for his fellow man, his fellow Canadians, and is so helpful. I don't even know if you realize how helpful he is, and how much I appreciate you, and both of you for your part, and your, that sacrifices that you've had, and, to get to this point. The year of the snake is going to be over March 31st, and this case is going to be pivotal, and I'm so glad you're a part of it, Chris, and we'll have to schedule you in again to talk more about it, and this was more a case of two incidences with Joel, and our freedom in our country, and so I hope for the best turnout in this case. And I will leave, like I said, the Give, Send, Go if you want to help.
That'd be great.
If you know any lawyers, that are willing to get in there for Shelley, and hopefully they will I'll give her an offer she can't refuse for her pain and suffering and for what they've done to her.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully they will try to save face and just, at least give you something for your pain and suffering. Mm-hmm. And as far as Chris's case, well, this is massive for our fellow Canadians.
For everyone. It's actually not just for Canada. You would think that at some point since 2020 that someone somewhere would have sued a government and said what you've done is not supported by any of the facts, and that person or persons would have brought some experts and said you're full of it. Everything you did is without justification, is kept on being said in that video, that they need justification. The government needs to prove justification. What happened, in fact, was the courts were like, good enough for us, you're an expert, and the government, the court's not going to challenge the government. You need to challenge the government, meaning whoever's the applicant or plaintiff, whoever's challenging the government needs to bring expert evidence. No one did it, or if they did it, they brought one expert, and the government brought three, or it was like equally matched, and at the end of the day, the judge believed the government because they didn't really have overwhelming evidence, and they challenged stuff like, the restrictions were unreasonable for a church, or they're unreasonable for this or unreasonable for that. Meanwhile, the whole premises of the pandemic need to be challenged. These are things that we've known for a long time about PCR tests and masks and distancing and things like that. We've known for 6 years. Most of us, I mean, there are a lot of people who discovered a whole year later that they were fooled. There are people who were discovered in 2023 that they got vaccinated and like, oops, I shouldn't have gotten vaccinated. I nearly died or whatever. And there are people who figured it out. But the point is, no one actually challenged the premises of the pandemic. They challenged stuff about vaccination. Some people challenged stuff about lockdowns, but without any actual expert evidence. And no one on the entire planet challenged with a substantial amount of expert evidence, multidisciplinary. In this case, it's pharmacology and public health policy, economics, statistics and biostatistics, pulmonology, epidemiology, and virology and immunology. No one's done that. It hasn't been undone anywhere on the planet. I'm the one who assembled the experts because I've been calling bullshit on this from the very beginning. I literally, with a business partner of mine, I had a conversation with him. I emailed him, and it's January of 2020. Me saying, this is not right. It doesn't add up. And as time went on, I'm like, this doesn't add up at all. When I heard something about a lockdown, like, this has never been done in human history. So no one challenged this stuff. They just didn't. And when some people figured it out, they haven't. It's too late, right? Even if you get $30 million, unlimited budget, you have as many lawyers as you want, experts as you want, it doesn't matter. Too late. You don't have standing, meaning you weren't affected personally, but we can't really prove it. It's too late. So whether you do or you bring an application, it's too late. Adam's case is the only one. And if this case is not heard, well, it will be heard. Thank God. We finally at the point that it will be heard. I'm talking about up until last month. We weren't sure this was going to be heard. So now we know, but it's taken years to get to this point. And now that we know it will be heard, what will happen next? Win or lose, this will end up in appeal. So even if this is a complete win, 100% for Adam, it'll end up in the Court of Appeal. And that's not bad. I said this back in probably January, February of 2021. I said it back then. It's a case of extreme importance when there's literally $17 trillion approximately was spent on COVID worldwide. $17 trillion. So something like this case has cost about it's close to 600,000. We've raised, I don't know, 520,000, I think. So there's a deficit, but at least it's going to be heard. And people are complaining, oh, it shouldn't cost that much. Sorry, in a market economy, stuff costs, a certain amount. And justice, unfortunately, costs a certain amount. There's a price tag. You may think it's not fair. It's life. And so if you want to beat the government, it's going to cost a certain amount of money. There have been millions and millions and millions of dollars spent on other cases that have never been heard. This has cost a fraction of that amount of money. This case would have cost a lot less if we were still with the original counsel. The original counsel did as they were instructed. Didn't happen. Had to get new counsel, and it's taken years to resurrect this case. This is where we are. It's a fact of life. And of course, no one wants this case heard except the people. Except people like us, except business owners, except the rank and file, the regular people at home. They want this to be heard. And of course, there's plenty of regular people at home who don't want it to be heard because they're totally woke and they're like, the government's right on everything. And what rights were violated? Like this is going on back then. It's complete insanity. But there are unfortunately, that's Canada for you. Canada is certifiably, unfortunately, over 50% socialist. Literally. So I'm not using that. I'm not throwing out that term. Literally over 50% socialist in Canada. It is what it is. That's why this is based on the evidence. It's not based on some political ideology, and it's not based on some legal trickery. Either the government has the evidence or they don't. The government has not cared about the evidence. The government's like, we're right because World Health Organization, Public Health Agency of Canada, Public Health Ontario, National Health Service in Britain, CDC, the rest of them, NIA, AID. It doesn't matter. They don't have the evidence. Anyway, thank you very much. Sorry, Shelley, I don't want to hijack what you've said. It's all related because they think they can do whatever the hell they want. The government thinks they can get away with whatever they want and that there's no one will fight them. And at the end of the day, maybe they'll, it's not about intimidating you, but they find a way and procedure to screw you. And that's what I'm saying. Unfortunately, for certain things, like if you're going to build a house, there are some people like, I know someone who built a house by themselves. No one does anything by themselves, right? And they got people to help them out. You can't do it all yourself. Unfortunately, when there's something like there's an undertaking like this, where you're going up against the government, there's all these different cogs, there's spokes in the wheel, right? There's all these cogs in the machine, all these people, and they're paid all sorts of money to waste your time and to make sure you're never heard. You need help.
Yeah.
It's not some kind of fault to admit that you need help, and that not everyone in the legal system is bad. I've met plenty of people who are very stand-up people who are great, and starting with my dad. My dad was a lawyer for 6 decades, so, and he helped a lot of people. My dad started legal aid in Canada. Okay, so there are good people out there, and you, unfortunately, it's kind of difficult to figure out who they are. And even sometimes you think you have a good person, it turns out they're not so good. So anyway,
It's true. Yes.
Wow, another story. I've been working with Kirk, lawyer, finally contacted me after 7 years. Wow. And actually asked questions. Well, I look forward to hearing about that. See, the wheels are turning, and we're not going to sit quiet and let our fellow man be railroaded. And there are good people, like Chris said. Trust me, I've been meeting them for the last 5 years. I feel so humbled by the absolute amazing people I've met and continue to meet. And I hope you come back, Chris, and talk more about this case, because it's right around the corner. So it's very, so I'm really excited to find out what happens, and just keep in touch with me and let me know. And Shelley, you're gonna have to post the Give Send Go on my comment. I'm still not getting it. It's giving me a 502. Like it won't let me even open it. So I don't know what's wrong with that Give Send Go. But she will share it in the comments.
GoFundMe. Yeah, it's a GoFundMe one. Like it's an GoFundMe account. Yeah, so it's on my my Justice for Joel page. And it's, so if you wanted to follow, follow for Joel Edward Truth and Justice, it's right on my Facebook page. So it's called
that's
Joel Edward Truth and Justice.
Okay, so I will share that. Yep, I will share that page.
Thank you.
In the comments. That will make it easier for people to find you. I also shared the link for the YouTube video for Chris's case, and all the information there is in the description of the video. So hopefully that will help. We're doing this today.
Give Send Go. Yeah.
Give Send Go. Yep.
Yeah.
And we're here for Joel. God bless you, Joel. I'm sorry you had to be a martyr in this situation, but you're a divine soul, and you will be there when we all cross through the gates, and I look forward to meeting you one day and celebrating your divine soul and your divine sacrifice. And sometimes we have great losses to open the eyes of our fellow man and help them to see what's before them. That we've been horses with blinders. We thought we were safe here in Canada, but we're really not. And it's a hard pill to swallow, but there is remedy. People are doing something. It's not just falling on its own. We are fighting back, and we're doing it in the spirit of love and a spirit of brotherhood and friendship for our fellow man. And any final words before I shut her down tonight?
I really appreciate you having me on, and it was a pleasure to meet Chris, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Sure.
Yeah, and you could, and I'll follow you. I will look you on. Are you on Facebook as well?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, then I'll follow you, and then maybe you could follow me, and then we could.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
Yes, follow each other by all means. And he's definitely someone I would recommend. Just to guide you, help you. Just help without actual legal advice. I don't think we could say that. I can't give medical advice, but I can tell you, what is it? castor oil is really good.
No, you're allowed to say that, but in the U.S.
Yeah.
They're actually stricter. But in Canada, you're allowed to say that.
Yeah.
But just say, I didn't go to medical school. I didn't go to law school. I'm not a qualified professional. Big deal. People write stuff all the time. In the U.S. though, you have to put a disclaimer. This is not intended to diagnose, cure, treat, or prevent disease. You've had to say that since like 1995. So that's the U.S. for you. But in Canada,
even
you
like-
can say it. Yeah.
But even if we quote sections of law, I mean, we're not
You're allowed
giving
to do
legal
that.
advice.
We
should be
just
able
say
to.
it ain't legal advice. Make sure that you
Yeah.
have a legal professional look at it. And thus far, I've had detractors. I've had people bash me, and then someone goes, "Oh, really? So, what is it that he said that is incorrect?" Well, and then they're like, "Well, you got to articulate it, and then get a lawyer to point out something that I've said that's incorrect." It hasn't happened thus far. So, and we're talking years. So, anyway, yeah.
Well, I appreciate you both. I want to thank you for coming. Thank you, everyone at home. Kirk Reese has a whistleblower space Monday to Friday on X, 9 a.m. BC time. My time is like noon for whistleblowers. And, if you want to find your communities, that's what, this is what we're all about. We're, uniting mankind every way I can, every way possible, to get rid of the division, the dividers, and remove them, and just realize even, people that you might think is not on your side might actually be on your side, and you've been programmed to become enemies, and we don't want to do that. We want to unify and make things better for our fellow man, So thank you both for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And thank you at home for joining us. I appreciate you all, and I look forward to coming back on the next Truth Table.